starting? Yes, Brother Omar.
Alright. Hear me, yeah?
We can hear you, but I'll repeat your question, Omar, so after.
Alright. At the time when the religion of Mithras spread and it was morphed into modern day Christianity,
Yeah.
where was a lot of the cold lands religions in terms of the Vikings, etc.? When did that come into place with Christianity as well? Timeline.
Timeline.
Repeat the question.
So the brother's asking about when did the Vikings convert to Christianity, or when did they?
Yeah, so obviously, like, all of these different beliefs are spreading through the
Yeah.
lands. At which point did the religion, a lot of concepts from Mithras morph into Christianity?
That's a good question. Yeah, I see. Okay. So when did this intermingling of things like, you mean like Easter and Christmas, and yeah, this is a very, you see, it was a very, very gradual process, really. Okay. And a lot of early Christian missionaries, it was actually their tactic. Their tactic was to incorporate pagan festivities into the practice of Christianity, but then change it into a Christian festival, right? So like Halloween, right? Actually on the Christian calendar is the Feast of All Saints. Halloween is an ancient pre-pagan, festivity that was supplanted for, however many hundreds and hundreds of years, right? By the All Saints Feast of Christianity. Same with Easter. Easter had pagan origins. Christmas as well had pagan origins. So that was just their strategy, bro. It's something that, it's something that's still going on, to be honest, right? I've seen documentaries where the Catholic Church in South America is doing the same thing until now. There are still people in South America who follow ancient Inca customs, and recently, as 300-400 years ago, they've begun to incorporate those ancient customs and turn them into a Feast of Mary or some saint or something like that, right? So it's something that's still, it's something that's ongoing, and it's a strategy that they've used that's their strategy. That's part of their sort of conversion strategy. So there's no particular date. It's something that just was employed and still happening until now in many different ways.
Just one quick one. Is there any references for actual with historical dates when these things were transitioned through the different lands?
I mean, the information is out there, bro. There's a lot of books on this subject. There are a lot of books on this subject. But I can't think of one off the top of my head that really gives dates and breaks this down into specific dates and timelines and stuff like that. I'll have to have a good think about it, inshallah. Yeah, to be honest, it's a long time. It's years and years since there was a time when that was like what I used to study and I used to read a lot. But to be honest, bro, the method that I use for Dower now is much more really just going back to Tawheed, talking about a lot of the stuff that you see down in the exhibition here. I think it's a very effective way of giving Dawah, avoids a lot of this, although that has uses, it does have uses, that type of stuff, but,
Take any more questions, please? Yes, bro.
Brother, actually, thank you very much for your my name is Saddam, I'm from Iraq.
Okay, mashallah.
Actually, there are two hadiths for Prophet Muhammad about how simply doing the da'wah.
Yeah.
So, which one of them, بلغوا عني ولو آية?
Yes.
And the second one, which is الدين المعاملة.
Yes.
So simply we can deliver the da'wah by only when we're dealing according to what Prophet Muhammad told us. So we would like to simply speak
okay,
about
good.
that. Yes.
Yeah. So the brother's mentioning two things, two hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One is convey from me even if it is one ayah. Very, very important hadith. So meaning, but if you know this ayah and you understand it, yeah. Okay, this is the important thing. You still need basira, you still need to understand this ayah. Yeah, so but if that's all the knowledge you have and you can convey, well, maybe, it may even be that the people who hear it understand it better than you. That can happen as well. There may be people in the future who will understand things in a way that we don't even understand it. Okay? So yes, so everyone can give dawah. And we see examples even from the time of the Prophet ﷺ, how the companions were very enthusiastic and very committed to convey whatever knowledge they had about Islam. And the other hadith is mentioning about the manners, the importance of, what was the hadith, did you mention? The deen is like good manners, good actions, good manners, right? So this is a very, very important thing. Okay? It is very important, brothers and sisters, very, very important that, especially for us in this country, we have to think very, very carefully about how we behave. Because, there's a famous saying, actions speak louder than words. There's a famous saying that actions speak louder than words. So you can say a lot of stuff, but if people look at you and your actions contradict what you're saying, then people will never take you seriously. And this is a big challenge that we have as a community. And we have to be realistic. We have to be honest. We have to be brutally honest with ourselves. And this is something I mention again and again. Individually, we have to be honest with ourselves. You have to be honest with yourself. But as a community, we need to be honest with ourselves. And I know a lot of Muslims have a problem with that. We have a real problem. And we do have issues as a communities. I know there are parts of this country, when the non-Muslims, they talk about Muslim ghettos, they talk about no-go areas, and then, subhanAllah, a lot of the time, non-Muslims come to the defense and say, no, this is not true, but it is true. It is true, and you know it's true. And even if it's not true in the sense that, there are Sharia patrols, maybe those don't exist, but there are places where people feel really uncomfortable. They don't feel welcome. I'll give you an example. Let me give you an example of my own self. Right? When I first became Muslim, so I'm talking about 30-something, whatever it is, years ago. For 6 months I lived in Birmingham. And I lived just in Small Heath. What's the main road? Green Lane, I think it's called Green Lane, right?
I'm sure.
So yeah, I just lived off Coventry Road or whatever it is. Yeah, Green Lane is the mosque, but Coventry Road. So I lived just off Coventry Road. So I used to go to some of the mosques up there. And I remember walking into one mosque, and this kid looks at me. He says, "Are you Muslim?" I'm trying to do my Brummy accent. "Are you Muslim?" Right? And I said, "Yeah, I'm a Muslim." He said, "You can't be a Muslim. You're a Gura." Right? And although you laugh, brothers and sisters, but listen, you can't be a Muslim because you're a Gura. So someone taught that kid that white people can't be Muslims. And that says enough. That if that's the only thing you want to know about how messed up, how totally messed up and ignorant and jahil and astray and misguided this community was then, that's all you need to hear. Just that. And believe me, that wasn't an exception to the rule. That was often. I remember one of my brothers who was black, Trinidadian Jamaican brother. Oh, he would talk about how when he walked in the mosque, people would go, no, like there's a color. He's a black man. Right? Like, subhanallah. And so, let alone if a brother, revert Muslim, wanted to get married, it is better you die than you marry a black man. Better you die than marry a black man. Right? That's how it is. And this is not, by the way, just the Pakistani community. Syrians. Of a Syrian imam said the same thing. Big fitna in a mosque. He said things like that. We don't marry our women to black people. Yeah, subhanallah, brothers and sisters. When you think about that, then you really realize, subhanallah, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If a man comes and asks for your daughter in marriage, and you are satisfied with his religion and character, if you refuse, there will be great fasad and fitna on the earth. Who knows that all this stuff that's happening in our Muslim lands may not be just from that? and then we talk about racism. We have problems, brothers and sisters. This is a reality. We need to sort our problems out. We need to be honest with ourselves. We have drug problems. We have prostitution problems. We have pedophile problems. These pedophile rings, yes, of course, the Asians and the whatever. Yes, that's true. There are plenty of white pedophiles, more white pedophiles. But there is a specific problem with the Muslims. There is a specific problem that they look at white women. Some of them look at them as trash and that you can do whatever you like with them. There is that attitude. There is. It exists. It's true and you know it. You know it. So there's a specific type of problem, a very sick mentality. And we can have no space for it. We have no space for it. As Muslims living in this country, we want to live in this country, we want to go to school in this country, we want to have jobs in this country, we want to have businesses in this country. We have to weed this stuff out. We have to get it, pull it out by the roots. We have no place for it. But you know what? We'll put up for it. Because although my son is dealing drugs, right? He's dealing drugs and selling heroin and spliff and whatever it is on the street. He's built me a new kitchen. He's decorated my house. He's bought me this. He's bought me that. I don't mind. I don't even say, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. That's the parents. That's what it's like. Yeah, you know it, brothers and sisters, don't you? You see, this is the problem. So what the brother was saying about the importance, the deen, the religion, is manners, actions. That's so important. Our deen, this is our deen. The Prophet said, I have not come except to perfect good manners. So how should we be with the people? Look how the Prophet ﷺ was. I want you to remind you of the famous story of the Jewish woman who used to throw rubbish on the Prophet ﷺ. Or how about Taif, when the Prophet ﷺ went to give Dower? This is amazing. When the Prophet went to give Dower to Taif and they stoned the urchins and the children stoned him, and the Prophet ﷺ was bleeding and his sandals were sticking to his feet. What did he do when Jibreel came and said, Oh Muhammad, Ya Rasul, oh Muhammad, just give the order and the angel of the mountains will destroy this town? He said, no, maybe from their children will be people who will become Muslim. This is manners. This is the manner of the Prophet ﷺ. This is what we need to be like, brothers and sisters. This is what we need. So this is Jazakallah khair, brother. Brother Saddam, thank you very much for that.
Sorry, brothers. The sisters have gone crazy with all these questions. So I'm going to maybe just quickly go through these four really quickly.
Okay. How could Noah have lived for 950 years to be able to do this da'wah for long? Allah gave him long life. Some people say actions alone is the best da'wah. What is your thoughts on that? Okay. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talked about calling to Allah, inviting Man ahsanu qawlan mimma da'a ila Allah. Who is better in speech than the one who invites to Allah. So in my opinion, actually da'wah is primarily through speech. It's not enough just to do good actions. It's not enough. And there's there's a big psychological reason for that. Especially, by the way, as how can I put this? In the minds of most of these white people out, let me be honest. In the minds of many of the white people, the English people, you're English inshallah, but I don't know how to put it. The white English people, whatever. The natives. I don't know how to say this, but the Gura, yeah. Here's the reality of what they think. They think that basically, if they don't think this now, this is, I'm sorry to say, but anyway, I'm going to be honest. They basically think you're backward people. Backward people from backward countries, yeah. And if you've come to this country and you have good manners, it's because you learned good manners from us. We civilized you. Because back in your country, you beat your women, right? You're a bunch of pedophiles. You blow each other up, you kill each other, you murder each other. You're just like horrible. Your streets are dirty, your countries are full of corruption. And you came here, and if you have some good manners, and you learn to be a doctor, it's because we civilized you. You learn to be civilized from us. So displaying good manners actually on its own is not quite enough, because the non-Muslim may say, oh, well, you know, I'm glad you've come and been civilized by us now. So it's not, you understand, it's not really dawah, is it? Unless you're saying, I'm like this because Islam tells me. I'm treating you like this because that's what my religion teaches me to do. So unless you connect what you're doing in some way with the religion, they won't necessarily make that connection. I mean, the best thing is they'll say, oh, those Muslims are not too bad. Actually, they're quite nice people. Right? So, alhamdulillah, that's good. Even that's it. Believe me, even that is a result for us right now. Even that would be a result for them to say, oh yeah, Muslims are nice. You know, alhamdulillah, their food's nice. I love their food. It's good. You know, like anything. We need anything right now. Right? So, but it's not really dawah. So I don't agree that just action, unless you do something extraordinary, unless you do something like so way out there, right? That they know that just no one would do this. So this is how Rasulullah was. This is why that Jewish woman, when the Prophet came to visit, he said, this is the manners, only a Prophet has manners like this. No normal person could ever behave like that. So unless we do that type of ultra extraordinary stuff, feeding the homeless, food thing, that's the minimum we need to do. The minimum we need to do is look after the poor and the needy, because that's what every Christian is doing that as well, remember? The Buddhists are doing that, the Hare Krishnas are doing that. So we're not really standing out by doing that type of stuff. We're just like fitting in and making ourselves on a level par. That's the minimum. For it to be dawah, we're just going to have to take it to a whole different level. Right? Then it's dawah. It's like, wow, these people, they are different. Their religion, whatever it is they're doing, that's coming from somewhere else. Because we don't find anyone else doing stuff like that. That's where we need to be. If we're on that level, then yes, then your actions become dawah. But it has to be on that level. Like the Prophet ﷺ was on that level. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah? So I agree with that proviso. Is it okay for a woman to give dawah to a man? Okay. You know, my answer to this is, it's very strange to me that, and look, unless you're someone who stays in the house and your husband does all the shopping, and you don't send your kids to school, and you don't send your daughters to school, or I don't know how you live in this country, but as far as I know, most women, they go out, they go to the shop, they buy things, they say, thank you very much, here, this is this, how much does that cost? They'll even bargain with them. No, I'm not going to pay that, how much is this? And it's a man. You'll not only go to the women and bargain with the women, right? And when they go to university, it's like, no, I'm not talking to a male teacher, I won't do homework, I won't discuss with my professor, this and that. So it's like, isn't it a bit schizophrenic? Isn't it like a bit weird that when it comes to the dunya, that's it, we're the best, we're the bargainers, we're the best talkers, the women, our sister, forget, I'm not going to talk you. Wife, you go and bargain with him, you can do it. Yeah? But when it comes to dawah, it's like, and I remember one sheikh, he used to talk this, he had this sort of, he said this is a very strange mentality we have. It's like, in the mosques, some of the mosques, they have this box of hats. So when you walk in the mosque, you put the hat on, you put the topi on. Yeah, and when you go out of the mosque, you put the topi on. It's like we disjoint our religion from everything else, right? So I think we have to make a distinction between how things might have been in a particular situation, right? But it may surprise you that even Ahmed ibn Hanbal, for example, he said that when a shopkeeper is making a transaction with a woman and she's wearing niqab, he can request her to remove her niqab so she can see her face. So he knows who he's doing business with. Right? So often we don't study these things and we don't look at this properly. So I'm not trying to open the doors and say, yeah, sisters, go out, that's it, and yeah, we're going to give dawah, this, that, we're on the whatever, and this and that. But just have a sensible, mature, rational, practical approach to things. That's what we need to do, right? So what I'm saying is, if you're interacting with someone normally on an everyday basis, and that's normal for you, you're going to the shops, you're interacting with someone. If the sister's going to the shops and there's a man she's interacting with on the other side of the counter, if she can buy stuff from him and talk to him about products, can't she mention something about Islam as well? Is that haram for her to do that? No. Of course not. If she's going to university and studying and talking to, is it haram for her then if she's doing all of that? Or she's going to work and she's dealing with all the things, is it haram for her to start mentioning some things about Islam? No. How can she fail to do that stuff? Alright? Okay? So I'm saying if that's the situation, I'm not encouraging as a specific thing for, to organize an Our Sisters posse to go out on the street and, whatever. In some places they do that. And some scholars have said in this situation, in that situation, but we have to look at every different situation individually to see what is appropriate, what is practical, what is safe, and that's what's important, inshallah.
Just one more, then we'll go to the brothers.
Okay. Because of media, people think badly about Islam. What is the best way to change people's thinking? Well, there was media in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. It existed. And they said terrible things about Rasulullah. The media in the time of the Prophet was the poets. The poets were the media. They would make poems, they would say these things, and they would spread lies about the Rasulullah ﷺ. So the best thing, the best thing for us is to do what the brothers and sisters here in this place are doing. The best thing is to give the right image of Islam. The best thing is to behave in the right way and to spread the message of Islam. That's the best thing that we can do, inshallah, to get the positive message out.
For some brothers now, please. Any more questions? Yes.
You spoke about ABC Muslims who live on the edge. What tips or advice would you give to break out that mindset?
Okay, so the brother's mentioning about the ABC Muslims, people who live on the edge. What tips can I give to break out of that mindset? I think we need, there is a category, if you look in some of the collections of hadith, like Riyad al-Salihin, they have a category or like a chapter heading of hadith that soften the heart, right? And that's what we need. We need to read some of those hadith and those ayat of Quran, right? So, we need to constantly remind this beautiful hadith that when Allah loves somebody, He calls Jibreel. And He says, "Oh Jibreel, I love that person." And then Jibreel goes to the angels. And Jibreel says to the angels, Allah loves this person. And then the angels go and they tell all the creatures and the inhabitants of the earth that Allah loves that person. So that the love of Allah of that person becomes established even on the earth, even amongst the small creatures. So think, wouldn't I like to be that person? That Allah says to Jibreel, I love that person. How can I get there? What do I need to do to be able to achieve that? So it's just about really waking those aspirations, within us, listening to those talks, listening to those type of lectures, reading those type of hadith, reminding ourselves of those type of ayat. It's like everything. It's where it's going to start with motivation, right? You need to get that motivation. Yeah? So that's where it's all going to start. And then really after you've got the motivation, you need to start taking the steps. You need to start finding out, okay, what are the steps? What are the things that I need to do? All right? Okay? So, Allahu Alam, this is, the way that you can do it, inshallah. So,
Kids downstairs,
how can kids at school give dawah? I.e. primary school ages 14-year-olds. They're 14-year-olds at primary school?
Yeah. Around that age.
Really? You leave primary school when you're 10, right? Okay, so I think what I often I think that really the solution is you have to, and this is very important, brothers and sisters. You need to give your kids a dawah mindset. So it's going to start with you. So first of all, you need to lead by example. Because kids look to example. They want to see, how are you going to behave? What are you doing? How are you behaving? That's one thing that's very important. Secondly, we need to talk to our kids positively. A lot of this stuff, brothers and sisters, I'd really advise you not to have this type of conversation with your kids. What I'm going to say, this type of conversation. Oh, look at the Muslim rulers, look how bad they are. They're doing this, they're doing that. Our whole world is a big mess because the Muslim rulers, blah, 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 blah. Now, believe me, I'm not here to support the Muslim rulers. That's not the point. The reason is because it's very disempowering. There's virtually nothing they can do about it. And you take responsibility away from your own personal self and you put it on someone else. That's a problem. That's not empowering. But when you say to your kids, you know what? Alhamdulillah, Allah has given us Islam. Allah has blessed us with this deen. It is a beautiful thing, and you need to share that with others in whatever way you can. بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَا آيَةً. Just, convey the message, even if it's one ayah, something you know. Tell them about Islam. Right? So if you bring your kids up that way, and believe me, the difference it will make in your kids, in their mindset, in their approach, in their self-confidence, that's so important. They will think, you know what, I have a job, I have a mission, I have a responsibility. I have something positive to give to this society. They won't be walking around with an inferiority complex anymore, thinking, oh, I owe so much to the great white man and his great civilization. Yeah? Because that's what a lot of us think deep down inside. That's what a lot of people think. Deep down inside, however confident you are, however whatever Muslim, Islamic, whatever, Islamist, a lot of people deep down inside, that's really what's going on. The great white man and his great civilization. I am in awe. Right? And that, our kids pick that up. But you need to give them and imbibe with them. No, you have something really important, something they don't have, something they're missing. And that doesn't mean you need to say, oh, this is evil, this is bad, this is terrible, look at the... Because they won't believe that either, by the way. They're enjoying all this, comfortable life, and you're going to tell them, oh, it's so corrupt and it's so this and that. Be realistic. Say, yes, they've achieved amazing things in the world, but they're missing something in their hearts. They're missing something. Something is missing. Something they need it so badly. And that thing they need is that connection with Allah. And that's something you know about. You can share that with them. So it's really about this, creating that mentality in them. Alhamdulillah. So that's my...
One more question from the brother, and then inshallah we'll finish. Yes, please.
Can I ask one first?
You have it prepared?
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah.
Okay, well, because there's so much segregation within the Muslim community as well, so do you think that dawah within our own segregated communities is more important because our previous generation, our parents and grandparents have installed that certain mentality within the kids which doesn't let them grow further? So for example, outside these premises, majority of the people are on their own. That's it, gone. We won't see each other again. We won't talk to each other again. We won't help each other. We won't know. It's easy to ask, well, how are you doing? But the only acceptable answer that is thought of is, I'm okay, everything's good.
Yep.
So getting to know our community's problem to grow the children, like you mentioned, the community center that someone's trying to make. So you see, shouldn't there be more focus on dawah within our own communities first so we can grow as people together?
Why? That's a good question. So the brother's asking, we need to concentrate on dawah within our own community so that we can grow together. And my answer to this would be, is that actually, why is there a contradiction between the two things? If people got together to give dawah to non-Muslims, that would be a great way to get together and do things together. And if we made sure that all the activities that we have a dawah angle to it, so there's no necessarily a contradiction. We can do both things. And I believe very much, brother, I believe very, very much, especially here in this country, that the more isolated and inward looking we become in terms of our thinking, the worse it's going to be for us.
Yeah.
So I don't think that that's a solution. That's going to perpetuate the problem. It's going to make it worse. And I don't think there's going to be a solution in that. You see, hear me through, brother, hear me through. Yeah, I know you want to say something, but you've asked the question, so listen now. Yeah, okay. I actually believe that this is my personal belief. This is perhaps, this may be the reason why the whole Ummah of Muhammad is in decline. And we have been for I don't know how many 100 years. And the reason is because we have become essentially inward looking. We argue endlessly and constantly about fiqh issues. It will happen this Ramadan again, inevitably. You will have some people somewhere fighting, maybe even killing each other over whether it's 8 rak'ah or 20 rak'ah. Even people will be killed over this. I know people, I know of a person, I didn't meet the person personally, but I heard this from a good source, that there was a brother who had his finger chopped off because he was pointing his finger in a certain masjid. This happened in Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, where they're being massacred. Muslims were being killed by Buddhists. There's only 14% Muslims in Sri Lanka. Yeah, because some guy came in, he pointed his finger like that, they chopped his finger off. Right? So whether you make Rafa'ideen or you don't, whether you pray 8 rak'ah or 20 rak'ah, whether you wiggle your finger, point your finger, do this or do that, none of this affects the validity of your salah. None of it affects the actual validity of your salah. Yet we will have imams giving khutbahs about it. We will have arguments, discussions, endless. There will be money spent printing books on whether it's 8 rak'ah or 20 rak'ah. And yet, these people right here, I don't mean here, but I know a mosque. The mosque in Liverpool, I remember I went there, we did one of our Dower things. The brothers who were giving the Dower training went across the road, and the lady had lived next to the mosque for 20 years, 25 years. No one had ever talked to her about Islam, ever. All she said is, I hear this noise from this mosque all the time, like this. I hear all this noise, especially in this one time of the year. It keeps making such a noise the whole time. No one ever visited you? No. No one ever visited her. That's not a Liverpudlian accent, I know. That's the problem, brothers. And you talk about we need to talk to each other and sort our problems out with each other, and no, that's the problem. Is we spend too much time trying to, like these endless debates. So this is the problem. If you think about the Muslims, this is what we've been absorbed in. Our scholars, our ulama, debating and discussing about this fiqh issue, that fiqh issue, this aqidah issue, that aqidah. I'm not saying these things are not important, they don't have a time and place. Please don't get me wrong. Subhanallah. But it has a time and it has a place. It's not the be-all and end-all of everything. And when the real obligation of this ummah, which is to spread this message of Islam, is being neglected, then it's a problem. And that's really what's happened to us, if you think about it. That's what happened. That's what has happened to us. Okay? So, brother, quite frankly, no, I totally disagree with you. Right? I think that actually the solution is going to be when we get together and we concentrate on spreading this message outside ourselves. It will be and this is my own experience from 30 years of giving dawah. The groups of brothers that I have been with from the earliest days, whether it's in Speaker's Corner, Leicester Square, and this and that, very diverse groups of people with very, very different ideas and aqidah, and quite problematic sometimes. But you know what? One thing happened, that when we were all together out there in Leicester Square talking to people who are non-Muslims, suddenly our differences, we still had the differences, but they began to look so small compared to what we were dealing with. Right? See, but we don't think like that. We're just so busy like arguing about this thing. We think this, that, blah, blah, like that, and like we're ready to kill each other over this stuff. This is the problem, bro. This is the problem. You're not going. I don't think you're going to. So what are you going to do? Get together with the Brailvis and the Deobandis and the Shia, and we're all going to go and have a. There's no way. It's not going to happen, bro. But you know what? I'm telling you, if you go out there and start giving dawah, and you're on the street and whatever, maybe it'll be a bit different. Allahu a'lam, Allah knows best.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.